Good morning, everybody, on this frigid day. Hello, and welcome to our second annual State of the Market event. I'm thrilled to have such a great turnout. You probably have heard by now, our theme for today is growth, and I know that I'm personally excited to be on a growth journey with all of you. So what is this State of the Market thing all about? At Keller Williams, we frequently use, perhaps overuse, the expression, no one succeeds alone. Well, today is about corralling the power of real estate experts, both locally and industry-wide, to gain a deep understanding of what you need to do to succeed and grow in this market of the moment. You're going to hear from two panels of local fellow realtors who are at the very top of their game. Howard Bunn, who is passionate about analyzing what's gone on in our markets and what to expect in the new year, will help you become the economist of choice. Our ability to live the life we desire comes from our ability to grow wealth and financial security, to take care of ourselves, the world, and the people we love. We will be hearing from Mark King, Keller Williams International's Director of Growth, on this very important topic. I'm really excited to have New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, co-author of The One Thing and The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Jay Papasan, talk to us about how growth in your business comes from growing yourself first. We'll also be hearing from KW Westfield agent Michael Martinetti, who in 4 years grew his business from the ground up to $100 million. Michael joined our Westfield office less than 2 months ago, and I'm thrilled to have him a part of our Keller Williams family. Before we kick off in earnest, I want to thank our sponsors who were instrumental in putting this together, from Guaranteed Rate, John Lampkin, Matt Keene, Brian DeVito. You guys know we love partnering with you. Also, a very special thanks to Acres Title and Visual Marketing and Design. You guys are going to enjoy this first interview. Michael Martinetti is building his business like he drives a fast car. After you get to know him a little, it won't surprise you to find out that he does not own one, but he owns 2 Porsches. You'll want to strap your seatbelt on. Let's kick this thing off. And how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
I got sleep last night, so that's good.
You didn't sleep? You were nervous? You did
No,
sleep?
I did. I slept. I was only up once.
Oh, because of the baby.
Yeah, so that was good.
Okay. So I was getting ready this morning, and my husband and I were both, faffing around. And he's like, well, so what are you doing today? And I said, well, I'm interviewing that guy, Michael Martinetti. And so he asked a couple of questions. I said, he's that guy I've been telling you about who in 4 years grew his business from 0 to $100 million. It's like phenomenal. And I said, and it's not even like he has these uber high-end luxury deals. He's like banging this out with, moderately priced homes, helping so many people who obviously love him because he has a lot of repeat business. So I just want you to know I was bragging you up. You're absolutely phenomenal and really excited.
I sold my first $1 million listing. First $1 million sale yesterday. So it took me 4 years to finally achieve that. So that was good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to know you a little bit, but a lot of people still don't. Give us a short version of your story.
Yeah. So I basically I'm born and raised in Union. I went to Kane, so I never really left. I studied to be a phys ed teacher. I taught in Newark from age 21 to 26. And then pretty much I had a shore house that I was renting, and we were on the beach, and my best friend's wife's cousin was telling me how he bought an investment property and how he's making $1,000 a month owning the home. So I said, wow, this sounds like something I should do. So I went home that day in August. I said, Mom, I'm going to buy a house. 2 months later, I was 24. I bought my first 2-family. And then my second 2-family I purchased in I'm 30. So 2016. And then I quit teaching the day before I got tenured. I traveled for a little bit. I got my real estate license. And
quit teaching the day before you got
yeah.
How'd that go over with your mom and?
Nobody wanted me to do it at all. Everyone said I was out of my mind. My mom wanted to strangle me, and Like for those of you that do know me, I am a mama's boy and I'm her only child. So, and we're Italian. So, it's that dynamic, and I went against what she wanted me to do. So it was nerve wracking, but I knew that I needed to be uncomfortable in order to reach my full potential of ultimately what I thought I can do. I just knew I had to figure it out, and here I am. So it worked out, fortunately.
Seems like it's kind of getting started. Yeah. You were on a team first?
Yeah. So I was a solo agent for like 2 weeks. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like offering 25% of my 50% split to people to just teach me anything. And then I basically had my team leader. He joined the team because of me. I mean, he created the team because of me. So it was just him and I. And then he taught me pretty much just like the basics of things I needed to know. He taught me how to call leads and, help me get good on the phone. And then I kind of just started taking the things that I was taught and try to come up with different, better strategies. And it's pretty much how that happened for the first year. And then I had all these great ideas. Well, at least I thought they were great ideas. And I would tell him, and, we just had different visions. So after my first year being on the team, I made my own team. So I've had my own team now for 3 years. And I feel like we're finally getting to where I want it to be. It's, I figured that aspect of it all out on my own, which is honestly what made me join KW. And I think KW is a big part of how I was able to transition so well and get my team to where I ultimately want them to be. And, we're on track to where I really want us to be. And hopefully in 5 years from now, we're one of the biggest in the country. That's my goal. I'm not going to stop.
So can we talk about that a little bit? You did 100 million in 2020.
Yeah.
Where do you talk to us
we
about
did
your
106.
trajectory?
Yeah, so we did 106 million in 2020. We're hoping to do about 175 million this year for 2021. And then, my goal in 5 years is to be doing somewhere around 500 million. So pretty much, what I want to do is just continue to grow. I'm not necessarily looking to hire a million agents. I'm really trying to develop the ones that I have and make them all top producers, rather than having, a team of 70 where 7 are exceptional. And then you got the 20 that are average, and then you have 20 below average, and then you have the 10 stragglers. So for me, that's really what I'm trying to do. And I'm just right now growing my back end of my business. So, we're starting, that's really where I lacked, which is probably what held me back, up until January of last year. I was doing my own paperwork. I didn't have an admin or anything, and I was still selling at a pretty high level. I mean, I did 97 transactions all on my own, doing everything myself, putting my signs in the lawn, putting my lock boxes on the property, taking photography, going to the home inspections, doing the appraisals, listing all my own stuff. So it was a lot, but I feel like if I didn't do that and I didn't have that work ethic, it would also not motivate my agents now, because they all see me do it and are aware of it. And I think that they know that they can never say, well, Mike didn't do it, so I'm not going to do it. And it helps them, ultimately drive the 25 minutes to show the $250,000 house that not many people want to do. But, 4 of those equal $1 million, which is $22,500. So anyone that's too good for that, then you have the wrong mentality on it. And to this day, I'll take anything. That's my mentality. I'm not too good for anything.
There's comments about you blowing up in the chat box. I mean, it's phenomenal that you can do 90 transactions alone. So kudos to you. There's a lot of agents that are watching this, and look, a lot of agents are happy with the business they're doing. I would say most agents I meet want to be doing more. And people think there's some secret sauce to people like you who are doing a lot of transactions. There's some secret bin of leads where you're reaching in and pulling them up.
I know.
Where are you finding all these people to help?
Yeah, I mean, I get that a lot, and I feel stupid when I answer it, because when I actually look back and say, how did I get where I am in 4 years? Like, I genuinely don't know what I did. I think what helps me a lot is I did know a lot of people in my sphere prior to getting in the business. And for the most part, I was well liked. At least I thought I was. I think I'm well liked by majority of the people that I've encountered over the years of playing sports, of, going out, and just being super local my whole life. And just, I found myself friends with the kids that were now probably 38 years old, all the way down to the kids that are 22, 23. So I have that huge sphere of influence. And then now that I'm starting to actually grow in this business and become, a top producer, more and more people are just starting to reach back out to me and congratulate me, or, ask me questions about real estate, or, we go to dinner or whatever it is. And I really worked my sphere. Obviously I did what everybody else is doing. The Zillow leads, the Realtor.com leads, yes, they're expensive, but the ROI is still good. And then, I do what everybody else does, like mailers and things like that, but it's really nothing crazy. I really think what I do differently is that I have a huge contacts of construction guys, my preferred lender, my preferred attorney, my preferred inspector, my preferred title. So I basically can fulfill any needs that a client has, all within sending a text. And to have that, I think, makes them really trust me and say, wow, this guy's not only an agent, but he has everything I need. And if you actually read my reviews, you'll see a lot of people say he's a one-stop shop for everything. Because I have everything, and that's what I think a lot of agents lack, is they chase the sale instead of figuring out and mastering other parts of the business that you don't get paid on, understanding how mortgage process works, understanding what interest rates are, understanding, what closing costs are, and all these different components that a lot of people don't think are important are. The more you can talk about other parts of the business while mastering the craft, it's completely going to be your game changer, in my opinion.
Now, you talk about mastering the craft. I'm curious, if I said to you, what's more important, mindset or skill set? What do you think?
Oh, it's mindset. It's 100% mindset, because in the beginning I had no skill whatsoever, and I still sold 37 houses in my first year. But my mindset was, nobody in my life wanted me to make this switch. Nobody thought I was going to be successful. Everybody thought I was out of my mind. And for me, the more you tell me no, the more I'm going to want to do it. It's how I've been my whole life. It's a good and bad thing, right? I got in a lot of trouble when I was younger, but I was always somebody that wanted to take risk. I've been taking risk my whole life. I believe that you really, in order to make it in the world, you have to take risk. There's no successful millionaire, billionaires in the world that haven't taken, a significant amount of risk. So it's all mindset. If you, in your mind, believe you can do something, you'll be able to do it. It's just a matter of, how long it may take you. So for me, kind of where I'm at right now, 4 years ago, I envisioned it. I really did. And where I want to be in 5 years, I'm envisioning it now. My team is as well. And they're all have the same mindset as me. And it's just something you can't teach. You either have it or you don't. Skill set you can be taught. You can't teach somebody how to have the proper mindset.
So, there's a couple of things in the chat box. I see someone asked, do you have kids? And of course, I know the answer is yes.
Yeah.
What I think people want to know is, how can you do all that and have a life? And I know you do. So
I do have a life. I mean,
it sounds like you play as hard as you work.
Yeah. People think I work a crazy, crazy amount. I mean, I go to dinner. I have a 1-year-old. I have a 7-year-old stepdaughter. My wife is now currently pregnant. We're having another son that people will find out today, because she just posted it before I came to work.
Congratulations.
So I am having another boy. And I'm still on a football team. I'm still on a volleyball team. I'm still on 2 softball teams. I play basketball every Tuesday. I'm an avid food eater, so I'm constantly going to dinners. But yeah, look, Monday to Friday, I grind. I work from pretty much 8:30 in the morning until whatever my last appointment is, whether it's 7:30. On the weekends, I really don't work. I answer my phone, obviously, but I don't really go on showings or listing appointments. I just cram it all in. The one thing that I'm really, really, really good with is using my time appropriately. And making sure that my clients' expectations are set with them. Like when they send me 10 houses and I know 8 of them are not going to work, I don't show them those 8 houses and I explain to them why. So I really utilize my time efficiently to get as much as I possibly can done. And I think that's another thing that agents maybe do wrong, is they chase the client rather than realizing that some clients aren't worth your time. If you have somebody that wants to see 100 houses and is going to buy a house in 18 months, it's probably best off you let them go and let them waste some other agent's time than your own. I'm really, really just purposeful with my time.
Awesome. So listen, I believe everybody that when you put questions in the Q&A box that you can send it to panelists or to all. And I think Mike's going to try to stick around for a little bit so he can possibly answer some questions in the chat box. And Michael, I've really just grown to find you absolutely charming and a pleasure to work with. And I have so much respect for you. I can't wait to watch your future goes and partner with you on the huge things that I know you're doing. So thank you so much for jumping on with us.
Of course. And thanks for having me. And, I look forward to doing it with all of you. And, I'm going to be KW for life probably. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So
Awesome.
I'm excited, and, I can't wait to see what the future holds as well.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Be well.
You too. Okay, everybody. So Gary Keller always says that realtors need to be the economist of choice for their clients. Our very lovely, wonderful broker of record, Howard Bunn, loves to lead the way on this very important topic. Howard, are you unmuted and ready to take it away?
I'm good to go.
Let's do it. Can't wait to hear what you have to say.
All right. Well, that was quite a presentation. I can't imagine listening to that and not being inspired by it. So amazing story, and I hope a lot of people tuned into it. And Gary Keller once said, anything that you set your mind to can be accomplished in 5 years. So that's a great example of it right there. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. Like Michael, I know you guys are all tightly packed with your days, so it's really an amazing thing that so many people would take time to come and tune in and listen up for a little bit. Hopefully, I'm going to make good use of my time this morning. I wanted to talk about the marketplace, what's been going on, and really try to focus on things that can be taken away and used in our business. I feel like a lot of economists sort of talk about the history and really don't do enough to try to put useful information out that we can use going forward. So I wanted to try to focus on that. So I gave it my best shot. Let's see if you guys agree that there's value in what we've got here this morning. So if I can have my first slide, I want to start out talking about interest rates. Last year when we met, a year ago, boy, it's been quite a year, and what an amazing chain of events have taken place. When we spoke last year, we were talking about how incredibly low interest rates were. We did say that it's hard to imagine a more favorable interest rate environment, and yet here we are today with mortgage rates now below 3%. This is in response to a devastating series of events, mostly built around a difficult situation in many cities, causing a lot of flight out in our case out west to our suburbs, and coupled with, of course, the pandemic that has been so widely talked about in the past year. It's put the government in a position where the Fed is pretty much compelled to keep interest rates as low as humanly possible. And you can see that right now we have mortgage rates below 3%. There's only really two things that could change that going forward. And so I want you to try to sort of see where I'm going with this. You can probably rely on extremely low interest rates. As long as the economy seems unstable and uncertain, you're going to be in a situation where interest rates remain very low. The Fed is not going to be reacting anytime soon. In the ensuing charts will bear this out. And by the way, these charts will be available to you for use in your own presentations with home sellers and buyers, if you like. So feel free to use any of this stuff that I'm using. This is from the St. Louis Fed, this chart. The next few charts after this are from a presentation that was given in December by Lawrence Yun, who is the economist for NAR. And then the final ones are just ones that I pulled off Broker Metrics, talking about local conditions. And going back to interest rates, the one thing that you're going to want to keep an eye on in your own mind is what kind of inflationary pressures are going to show up. Now, we all know there's been a tremendous amount of stimulus introduced by the government into the economy. That does come with a risk that inflation will start to creep up. If that happens, you will no longer see these low interest rates. But I don't believe we're going to see any kind of change in the current situation for at least 6 months. I think you can probably walk around with that in your hip pocket, that the interest rate environment will continue for some time to come, and I would say probably at least 6 months before it begins to receive pressure to change. If I get a next slide, please. So here we see, this is a job creation chart. The next three charts are going to be about employment, unemployment. These are jobs that for the last 20 years that were created. You can see, of course, what happened last April. We had a tremendous drop off. We lost about 20 million jobs. And then we began to recover. But what you can also see in this chart is that we're beginning to tail off in our recovery. We're about 10 million short of where we were just to get back to break even in job creation. So next slide, please. And you can see that when we did lose those 20 million jobs right there in April, you can see the downward bar, and then we nicely started adding back jobs. And in June, in fact, added about 5 million, but you can see that those increases are tailing off. That's not good. And it's occurring at a time when we're short of where we needed to be before the job recovery started to tail off. Next slide, please. And then finally, of course, this boils down to the unemployment rate itself. Again, a year ago, we were nicely cruising along at an unbelievable unemployment rate of under 4%. That, of course, jumped up as the economy was shut down. And here again, you're seeing a situation. This is one reason that the Fed really would not want to take its foot off the accelerator as far as interest rates are concerned. You are beginning to see a not welcome trend of leveling off there in the unemployment rate at what I think most people agree is too high a rate. Next slide, please. So let's swing off the broad economic picture and talk a little bit about our business, the real estate industry, the brokerage industry specifically. So each year, you can see on the right side of this chart, this is sort of an interesting comparison. We do about 5.5 million resales, and that's pretty stable and pretty much true each year. And in fact, you can see if you look on the chart on the left, which is 2 years worth of data, these are plotting, the annual rate on a monthly basis. So you can see we're hovering there around that 5.5 million rate, and then we dropped way down to below 4 million, and then recovered. So what wound up happening for 2020 is, despite the fact that we went down so far, we went way up above our typical 5.5 million rate and closed out the year at a hectic near 7 million annual home sales of existing homes. Sort of white hot activity, as you can see, ending the year last year. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's 20 years worth of data. You can see that inventory had been in long term trickling down a little bit, but this is really where we are right now. You can see that we were already low on inventory before any of this happened. And this is a national figure right here, and you can see approaching 2 months supply of inventory nationally, not quite below 2 months. We're going to look locally later, but that is going to be a theme going forward. And this is really going to be coupled with the interest rate facts. This is going to be a watchword going forward, keeping your eye on the inventory that's out there and doing everything that we possibly can to create supply for our buyers agents to sell. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's look more locally. So in our area, for the year last year, amazingly, after being shut down for nearly 2 full months with almost no activity, we did wind up increasing in unit turnover was up 4.4%. And then, of course, the dollar volume, the closed dollar volume for the year in 2020 was up 17% at almost 40 billion for the year. You can see the difference between those numbers right there is what that indicates a increase in price. So let's look further at that as we go along as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so once again, this is the entire MLS. This is median prices of sold properties. You can see that we are gradually moving upward in price. And in fact, the last 5 months of last year in 2020, we were above $400,000 as a median price. We've never had a period of time, I don't believe we've ever touched in any month prior to this period, $400,000 as a median price in the MLS. So we are up above there now. We closed the year above $400,000. Next slide, please. And you can see, so this is just looking at 1 year, that arrow there, maybe that is hard to see, but that's showing that 22% of that 28% increase occurred just within the last year. So, and that's the entire MLS. Next slide, please. This is an interesting chart. It looks like you're looking at a lot of nothing right off the bat, but I'll show you the backup for this. But these bars that you're looking at reflect the comparison between the sale price and the list price of properties in the MLS. The darker blue are homes that sold with no price changes being necessary for the house to go under contract. The lighter blue are homes that had 1 or more price changes. So if we go to the next slide, please, I'll show you why that's interesting to look at. The darker blue bars, actually for the first time ever, the homes that did not require a price change on average were above 100%. You can see those last 5 months that I have circled there. Jackie nicely circled for me. Thank you, Jackie. And that's a remarkable thing. That has never happened before. And it shows you, first of all, how strong the market is. But second of all, it also shows you the value, I believe, of getting the price right. And this, I think, would be a great chart to show a homeowner when you're drilling down on what list price to come to market with. Believe me, when they hear about the price increases that have occurred, they're going to want to overprice their houses. This is what you need to show them to get them to realize if they are not careful about how they price their homes, they can severely harm themselves. So I'd urge you to take a look at this and think about how you can use it in a listing presentation. Okay, next slide, please. So here again, we're looking at a example of graphic example of how the inventory is dropping down and the pressure it's putting on us. You can see basically this is 2 years worth of data. There are 3 Decembers in here. So we have 2018 on the very left side, the red bar. I know it's probably difficult to see with exact detail. The very left bar is December 2018. The very far right bar is December 2020. And in the center in there is December 2019. If you just look at those 3 Decembers and compare them with one another, you can see that the inventory that we normally have in December is probably about 20,000 units, between 20,000 and 25,000 units. We closed this December with about 12,500 units of available inventory. Really a kind of painful. It's almost like trying to stretch a rubber band too far. It's a painfully low amount of inventory available. Okay, I'm losing my picture here, so bear with me, everyone. Sorry. All right, something happened. I still can't see the charts. Very small though. Not exactly sure what happened here, but if we can just go to the next slide, I will do the best I can to see what we're talking about here. Okay, so this is a representation of the amount of inventory that closed. So these are closed sales being represented here as a percentage of the available inventory. So if you look at this chart, you can also see once again stuff going on that has never gone on before, and it's actually I don't know, I guess maybe not everybody gets as excited about numbers as I do, but that is an unbelievably high percent. More than a third of what was for sale closed when actually closed in December of last year. Next slide, please. Okay, getting close to the end here. I'm getting signals that I'm running out of time, so just two more and we'll wrap up. This is the entire MLS. This is the bars show months supply of inventory. You can see that on the very right there. So that's once again December 2020. We have slightly over 2 months. These are painfully low numbers in terms of inventory. Once again, the dots there are days on market, and it's interesting to see the uptick there last month in the days on market. I'm guessing what's happening is that the inventory is getting so low that there's nothing left out there but overpriced garbage, frankly. And so I think it's slowing up our sales. This is why it's so important as we go forward for us to be creative. Our agents, thank God, mostly at Keller Williams, but even elsewhere, the realtors who thrived last year were the ones who got really creative during COVID, found ways to do open houses, found ways to get people feeling comfortable about going to look at houses. We're going to have to innovate the same way going forward. And I'll show my final slide. As we go forward and really tackle this market and this inventory head on and aggressively. And this is going to be what separates the successful from the unsuccessful in the coming year. I'm sure of it. And we have one final slide, I think, after this. Yes, this is obviously quite similar looking, and there's a reason for that. This is the same chart, except I just picked out towns that were around our market centers. So around Summit and around Chatham and Short Hills, Westfield, Cranford, Scotch Plains, I threw in there. Also Montclair and a smattering of towns around where the Montclair Market Center is. I just grabbed, you can see in the bottom there, there's probably, I don't know, 12 or 14 towns. What this is telling me is that in our specific area around our market centers, this problem is even worse. We're actually below, I don't know if you can see there, but we're below 2 months of inventory. So 1 point something months of inventory, and that same little jump up in days on market. So good luck to you guys going forward. Thank you again for your attention. I appreciate your listening to me and taking time. If I can help anybody interpret some of these things, please give me a call or email or text. Be happy to have a look at them with you.
Hey, Howard.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for helping us with our knowledge on this. There are some nice comments about you in the chat box, particularly the people that like you sort of geek out on all this data. So check out the chat box. You'll find some new friends.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for having me on. Thank you for giving me the time, Shannon.
Thanks so much, Howard. All right, guys, we all know that a little growth is a good thing, but explosive growth is even better. I'm really excited to introduce you guys to our Growth Factor panel. This group of agents all more than doubled their business in 2020. Let's learn how they managed to high jump over all the obstacles that 2020 threw their way. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great. Just give one more second here. There we go. Bridget's on. I am so grateful to all of you guys. I know that you all agree that the culture of Keller Williams, where we share all of our knowledge, is so powerful. And it's people like you guys who never seem to be afraid to tell your state secrets. I know you're all abundant thinkers who know there's business to go around. So thanks for sharing with us. All right, so it's Simon Westphal, Kwong, we've got Brendan De Silva, Bridget Robertshot, Marisa O'Brien. A couple of things in the chat box. People have been asking if they want to connect with panelists and stuff today. We're going to send out contact information for all of you because I'm sure some of you might have referrals to pass around. So everybody who's asking about that, just know that'll be forthcoming. Wow, guys, all more than doubled your business in a really challenging year. There must be some secret sauce. Brandon, let me start with you. What secret sauce did you pour on 2020 to do so much business?
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Shannon. I will say, and hello, fellow KW, right? So like everyone has strategies and value. Truly, I do feel like genuinely blessed and favored. On a pragmatic level, if I was like, okay, what was certain things I did that really like kind of helped us level up? Honestly, I think partnerships with investors. Now, that's one big thing. And then also I would say like systems. So one, when it comes to investors come across a lot of deals. I don't really help investors too much with acquisition, but more so just like on the sales side, and like getting them connected to wholesalers and all that good stuff. But investors come across countless sellers, countless. They'll come direct and they'll find out, hey, this person actually is thinking about selling. So if you develop a rapport, that's a great way to like get an ear on the ground before they put it on the market with another agent. That's one. So developing relationships with investors, contributing value in a way that they're going to tell you, hey, I just left 123 Main Street. I made a low offer. You should like find that person and give them a call. So that's a good relationship. And then that's a secret sauce there. And then two, I would say systems. So systems, not in terms of like, of course, KW Command, the whole nine, but as a salesperson, I'm really not good with much else. So I'm really not the best at like managing finances or like making sure we're compliant, right? So I just leveraged using, people and leveraging and building them up and really empowering people on my team and, for them to do the things that are not just the best use of my time, as Michael Mornay said, and really emphasizing the one thing, which for me is like empowering other sales agents / lead genning to get listings, right? So that's really two things: getting a relationship with investors and then like building out a lethal transaction system. So literally all I need to do is get the listing and the handoff and then high level management. That's
amazing. Now I know you getting up in the neck of the woods of $40 million this year. And I loved when I was speaking with you a week or so ago when you told me your future goals. Can you give it to me again?
Yeah. So this year we're either going to sell 270 houses or we're going to die. And that's pretty much it.
You're just a little bit committed to your goal then.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Love it. You mentioned systems and models and, I've gotten to know Bridget and Marisa a bit. And you know what? I think I've told you guys this before. I'm so impressed with how purposeful you guys are, with how purposeful you were about growing your business. Talk to us a little bit about how you did. You managed to double your business last year. What was your secret sauce?
Thank you so much, Shannon. All right, I'll start. I feel like the word that you just said was key. Like we really just we got super purposeful, and it may have had something to do with that we started the year out doing bold. And, aside from all of these, goals that we were super focused on and being purposeful about getting to, but I feel like a big part of it was us being committed to the process and making sure that everything that we were doing was like, making it a really good experience for whoever we were servicing, and everything that we touch, we're trying to make sure that it's like a super 5-star experience.
Wow.
Bridget, don't forget to unmute.
Sorry, my dog barked. I've got my treats here to, yeah. Okay. I would agree with that. And I'd say, most of our business last year came from repeats, referrals, sphere of influence. So it's all the same stuff we keep hearing over and over again. There was no secret like marketing thing that we did that got us a bunch of listings. It is an accumulation of excellent reviews, excellent experiences. You would really be surprised if I told you the source of some of our transactions that we got. We have gotten referrals from co-op agents, believe it or not, one who was selling to a relative in our area, but she didn't really work over here. So an opportunity came to her and she actually had the lender, suggested that the lender refer it to us. And it ended up actually, I just got my bold letter back that we wrote to ourselves at the end of bold. And one of the things was we were going to sell to at least one person with an investment property. And don't you know, that referral from that other agent from another company was that investment goal that we had, that one.
No matter where our business was coming from, if you boil it down, it was all because whatever we were putting out there, we were making sure that it was, just beyond what anybody would expect, making it that 5+ star.
And I love what Michael Martinetti was saying, that there's nothing that's, I loved his humility. Okay. There's nothing that's, beneath him. He'll take everything. We feel that way too about like the things that we do in our everyday job. We're always laughing, the realtor life is so luxurious, I've cleaned up cat litter from a basement for a walkthrough and, washed windows and taking care of people's dogs, all those little things really add up and people really remember that. And it makes them, trust you and want to refer people to you.
We're really just helping people, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really that simple. And can you guys describe what is a good client experience in your world?
I think much of it boils down to communication.
Yeah.
Right? We don't ever want to keep them in the dark about anything. We really try to communicate things immediately, respond immediately, and communicate in the way that the client wants to be communicated with, right? So if they're phone people, you talk on the phone. If they're texters, you text. I think that's a really, really big part of it. And having an A team behind you, having lawyers that you really, really trust and work well with, that you 100% feel confident having your clients work with and be part of your team. They're part of your team.
The contractors, painters, whatever it is that people need.
Okay. So yeah, that's something that Michael Martinetti was certainly talking about too. And I know Brendan, you're talking about your team that you're getting repeat referrals from. Simon, you're certainly a team guy as well. What do you think contributed so much to your team really exploding the way it has?
Our team pivot and made adjustments, as needed during COVID-19. So we didn't just sit and wait for it to be over. And our team really stay consistent, stay in touch with our sphere of influence. There's no secret sauce. It's really the same thing. We all are doing what we're supposed to do. It's a relationship business.
Oh, so sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a relationship business, not a transaction business. We really look at each client's client for life. And that's where we get all the referrals business coming back from. And we really stay proactive in terms of the ever changing landscape of what's going on in COVID as we still changing today.
Simon, I know that a lot of your business comes from your sphere and the sphere of everyone on your team. From a mastermind I was on with you last week, I was blown away by how often you guys are touching your sphere. Can you talk a little bit about how you stay top of mind with your sphere?
Yes, definitely. We stay in touch with them a lot. As you know, everyone knows 7 to 10 realtors. If you're not on top of their mind, it's the right timing, you're at the right place, the right time. So we touch base with them, just care calls quarterly, And then we actually do either virtually events or something that we send them something, monthly. And also we do videos, and they're all personalized video as well.
No, guys, you heard me ask Michael Martinetti this question, and for me, it's sort of a theme through the day. We all like to be surround ourselves with people who, are not one-dimensional, right? And people that work hard, play hard. You guys are all killing it, selling so much real estate. How do you manage to have some work-life balance?
Oh, I actually would love to open on that. When I first started, I worked I came from like the hustle, it's a hustle minded business. You just got to hustle, and that's it. And I started when I was 22. I didn't know anyone like Mike. My friends weren't buying houses at 22, right? Like I didn't even know when I got my license, I truly didn't know what FHA was. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I grew up from a low income family, so I didn't have like any real estate know-how. But so when I first started, I worked 8 months. 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week, did not take a day off, like literally for 8 months. It was only when I started dating my now wife, she was like, this is a little strange. And I was like, oh, you think so? I was like, oh, there's another way. So she recommended, one of her girlfriends recommended a book, The 4-Hour Work Week. And it was basically about using leverage, etc. Great read, you should read it, The 4-Hour Work Week, really good read. But long story short, I now realize that if you're not going to have a work-life balance, in America, we're very pro-work. Like it's a badge of honor to work 90 hours. I now, as a man who's worked 90, 100 hours a week, can tell you it's not cool. You're just literally being foolish, and you need to learn how to build a business, and you're not going to be sustainable, and you're going to put your health at risk, even as a young man. So the way that I recommend, if you really just want to take very, very small baby step, because you can feel like you don't have time, especially if you have kids, you're just starting off, I would highly recommend waking up a little bit earlier, so you have more time in your day, and then having 1 day a week dedicated, like Shabbat, dedicated, no work. Even just that 1 day, it can transform your life. And there's so much data to back this up beyond like the religious circles, but like the day off is really you're more productive if you have 1 day of rest, at least.
Couldn't agree with you more on that one. Anybody else have a quick thought on that topic? Simon, do you take any days off? Simon's not the poster child for downtime, I might add.
I try to, now we actually have a puppy, so that's actually taking some of my time as well. So, I think, definitely you want to have a balance. In order to have a balance, you really need to make sure you have the system in place and having the right people in places that, the back end support, and having, great agents that I can delegate, more of different things they can do. So definitely it's giving us more time to also think of the big pictures, how we can grow our team as well.
Okay.
I want to add something to that too. It's a little hard right now while we're in COVID, but so we have to make more of a concerted effort to do this. But when things are more, there's more activities to be a part of, et cetera. When you are actually living your life and doing the things that you enjoy to do, if you're doing it with other people, and Jason Abrams was saying this in one of his talks that he did, if you're doing it with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 other people, guess what you're doing? You are lead generating, and you are doing your top 20% activity. If you're going out to dinner with friends and living your life, you are lead generating. You're building those relationships. Just like Simon said, it's a relationship business. If you're, sitting on a bleacher with your kids' baseball team, you are developing relationships. If you are in a Bible study, if you are going to church or volunteering somewhere, you are developing relationships and developing your sphere of influence, and you are actually lead generating.
You guys, when you jump off this, please stick around in the chat box because people are addressing some questions to you guys. So I know they want to hear a little more from you. I can't thank you all enough for being willing to share with us. And, those of you, I know Simon and Bridget and Risa fairly well. Brendan, I'm just getting to know you and excited to do more of the same. I'm very impressed and inspired by all of you. So thank you so, so much.
online.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. So our next guest is a New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author. As we've mentioned, it's Jay Papasan, author of The One Thing and The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. The most compelling reason that I asked Jay to join us today was not so much that he authored some of my favorite books, but it was because of a breakout session I attended at Family Reunion that he led. It was called How Billionaires Set Goals. The breakout session was so good, I actually attended twice. Jay is a humble yet brilliant guy who cares deeply about agent success. I think you'll enjoy hearing what Jay has to talk about, particularly focusing on how growth is really an inside job. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning. Thanks for
so,
having me. This is exciting.
It is so nice to see you. I know you and I have spoken a little bit about our market centers here in Montclair and Summit and Westfield. I was just digging around doing a little cyber stalking of you, and I understand you went to graduate school just up the road and over the river from here at NYU. Is that right?
That's right. I applied to a bunch of schools. You know, every writer wants to go to the Iowa Writers Workshop and, you know, drive through, you know, cornfields and see lots of pigs.
Don't make fun of Iowa, Jay. I'm from Iowa and I went to school there.
But that is that is the Mecca. But like, I actually didn't think I would get in there, or NYU. NYU is a very prestigious writing school too, but I got into NYU and I was like, wow, okay, I got family in Staten Island. I have a friend and a second cousin in publishing. So I actually stayed in Hoboken my first week, and then moved into a little apartment on Astor Place. But yeah, I had friends in Jersey. We'd go over there. I used to hang out in this place called the Shannon in Hoboken, where my second cousin's husband, Ray, was a bartender. And it was great. Y'all live in a great part of the world. I met my wife up there. Come on. So,
and she's originally a Badger, I understand. So,
she grew up in Fargo, went to Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin for college, and then came to, I think, New York for a birthday party. She took a bus and just stayed. And we met at a friend's birthday party a couple of years later.
That's a great story. Well, when the world goes back to normal and it's a little safer to travel, we'd love to have you back in person.
That'd be great. Let's do it in the summertime. I've got a friend that goes to Manasquan every summer from like 7th grade, and I can go down to the coast and pretend like it's the 1950s.
Awesome. We'll see you at the beach.
Yeah.
So, Jay, you know that our theme for today is growth. And,
Yes.
you know, I was just remembering that last year at our State of the Market, Sue Adler spoke, and I remember her talking a lot about that and how her business really has grown to the degree that she has.
Yes.
In your book, you talk about success being an inside job. Put yourself together and your world falls into place. Help us kick that into high gear. What do we need to be thinking about to put our internal personal growth on steroids so that we can see that having implications all over our world?
I love that. And it's truly is an inside job. And one of the things, you know, Gary defines leadership as teaching people how to think. And all leadership begins with self-leadership. And as we learn how to think so that we can do what we need to do when we need to do it so we can get what we want when we want it, big mouthful, but that's a Garyism, we're bringing leadership to ourselves. And so for a lot of us, it's just about like, this is the time of year when we're looking at our goals. Maybe we're still really committed to that diet or exercise program, right, that we started the year off with. A lot of people, when they think about personal improvement and personal growth, they go to physical and health, and that's great because we need energy to do great things, but we also need to think about how we think and are we feeding our minds? And so, you know, especially last year, I think a lot of us became sensitive to how much we wanted to expose ourselves to the news, right? Because it wasn't always positive, and are we putting in positive stuff? So my challenge to folks would be, if you want to grow on your personal journey, what are the areas in your business where you lack confidence? Because that's often a sign that we need training or coaching. And then do you have a plan for improving them? And frankly, we all have that spot. We have our blind spots where maybe we're not as good at hiring as we want and we should go to career visioning. Maybe our personal finances aren't where they should be, And therefore, we're asking things from our business that our business shouldn't be asked to do to solve our spending problem at home, right? So maybe we need to get enrolled in a Dave Ramsey course. Maybe we need to focus on learning better financial intelligence. I can't tell you what they need, but I can tell you how to solve it, is that you can form a plan. And for me, it usually starts with books or training or a coach. And a mentor can be a placeholder for a coach, but who can I choose to be accountable to? Like, we're adults. Like, do you have a coach, Shannon?
I do.
Right.
I do.
So if I have a coach too, my coach does not hold me accountable. There's nothing my coach can do. Reach through the Zoom thing from Utah and tell me when I'm doing misbehaving? No, but I choose to be accountable to the process. So we can choose to be accountable to our goals. We can choose to be accountable to our life, to our coach, and to our plan, and then live that plan. And we can go down that road. But if people aren't setting goals for their personal development, they are short-circuiting their business growth.
So when you talk about setting goals for your personal development, this time of year, realtors all set their business goals, right? Let's go through the categories, and maybe using yourself as an example, or what are the categories that you would recommend people think about this time of year to be setting their goals?
Well, you can see the book over my shoulder. The only page I've memorized is page 114. And that's where you have the 7 circles of your life where you might apply the one thing. And for 14 years now, my wife and I have done a retreat where we set goals, and we set goals in each of those areas. So what are the things that we need to do, the habits that we can build for our spiritual life, right? Do we have a mentor that we need for that? So it's spiritual, physical, next is personal, right? And a lot of us are working really hard, and we don't really have a personal life. We don't have hobbies. We don't have things that we do to fill our own bucket. And so we're always taking care of our clients and taking care of our family, or taking care of our people on our team, and never taking care of ourselves. And that's that old line, you know, when you're on an airplane, who do you put the mask on first, you or the kid by you?
Do it to yourself.
That's right. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you may be borrowing against account that comes due, and you just won't be able to take care of the people you care about or that you've committed to taking care of. So we've got to make room for that in our lives. Then relationships, the key relationships, we set goals for our marriage. We set goals for our partnerships that we have partners with, our kids, and now we have aging parents. We have 2 sets of aging parents. Like, we have to actively plan for what needs to happen there. Then we have our job and our business and our money. And other people might have other categories that don't fall neatly into that. That's personal. Mm-hmm. But you need to step back at least once a year and ask holistically, how am I doing in those areas? Like, I would challenge people to grab that book and set a timer for 1 minute. And in 1 minute, go through each of those 7 circles: spiritual, physical, personal, key relationships, job, business, money, and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And what I find, because you have to start with 1, you can't do all 7 at the same time. This is the one thing, not the 7 things. I find that people are usually most motivated to invest time and energy to improve themselves in the area where they have the most pain. So if you've been neglecting your physical health, right, you're overweight, or you're just not healthy, you don't have the energy, you're not sleeping, fixing that often will create all kinds of little halo effect in your life. And one researcher we talked to in Australia, when people had built any habit, just new habit, I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water a day, they then saw massive improvements in other areas of their life. Like, there were fewer dirty dishes in the sink, that they made their bed, like all these other things come together. These other things come together. And here's my hypothesis. I can't prove it. When people understand that they actually have control of their lives, that they can change, like, instead of feeling like they're adrift in this torrent, right, that they got swept away with their business and their life and their kids and the pandemic, when they understand they actually do have the ability to make a positive change, it gives them the confidence to start doing a lot more for themselves. So I would challenge them, identify the area that matters most to them, and that could be the most pain or the most opportunity. And then how can you build a habit? How can we be better there? And get a plan for that.
So I know you get called in to consult with companies, and you certainly spend a ton of time with the top brass there at KW, including Gary. What do you see, to the degree that you can share, what do you see with us about how people at that level set goals, follow up with them, make sure their actions match their goals? What does that really look like?
I think the number one thing, and this has been when people ask Wendy or myself, like, what's the number one gift you've gotten from working with Gary, like a self-made billionaire for 18 years. I've been here for 20, working with him for 18, partners for 16. And he always challenges us to think bigger. So I was interviewing him, I guess, recently, and we actually, part of our business planning clinic at the end of the year, we shared that video. And one of the things that Gary always reminds us to do is when we're setting goals for 2021, we need to actually ask a much bigger question. And this is true of Carl, our new CEO. This is true. I've actually interviewed 2 other billionaires. They have a big vision. They're looking at, what do I want to achieve in my life? Or at the very least, in the next 5 or 10 years. And then based on that, they're saying, well, what am I going to do in 2021? And the vast majority, the rest of us, and I'm guilty about half the time, even though I work with him and he's slapping me on the head, telling me not to do it, is that we tend to get really myopic and we just think about this year and this month or this quarter, because we're really trying to have a great year, not necessarily a great career. So my number one thing would be, if you haven't done it, give yourself a Saturday morning and really give yourself the license to imagine what's possible for your life. Even if it still feels very improbable, and start painting a picture of where you want to go. And based on that, then ask, well, what do we need to do this year to feel like really good about our progress? And this shows up in weird ways. Like Gary, I asked him, like, how many of your goals do you hit? And he said almost none. Because for me, a goal is a placeholder so I can learn how to behave every day to know I'm on track for that. And the moment I feel like I'm behaving or my company's behaving in a way to do that, I go and I raise the goal. Like, he doesn't ever cross the finish line. And so this is also, I think, common when you read the biographies or you interview these people that are really changing the world. They're asking a bigger question. Every time I've been out of alignment with Gary, I mean, literally every time, when we come back together as partners and we try to figure out how we get on the same page, what I realize is we are on the same page, but he's looking at a bigger picture than I am. I'm looking at the tiny corner of the screen and I'm seeing all the pixels, and he's looking back and he's seeing the panorama. And until I can pan back and see the bigger picture, then I'm like, oh, well, of course we should do that.
Sounds
Right?
like he keeps pushing the horizon line back, which is an exciting kind of person to be with, I'm sure.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we don't get to celebrate the milestones along the way. I mean, a lot of people probably on this, maybe some of them from their business standpoint, they may have had their best year ever. I know a lot of people in a lot of related industries that had their best year ever last year, and it surprised all of us. We're like, what? And it almost feels guilty because there's a lot of people who had far from their best years. There's almost 2 economies, but we have to celebrate that. Maybe privately, maybe not post on Facebook if a lot of our clients are unemployed, but we can, with our team or with our family, celebrate that along the way, because I know that's important. But having that big framework and then saying, so based on that, what do we do this year? And we wrote about that in the book. We call it goal setting to the now.
Okay.
The challenge with big goals in the future is we don't know how to behave this week to know that we're on track. And by working backwards from the goal, based on what I want to do in 5 years, what do I do this year? Based on what I want to do this year, what do I have to do this month? Based on what I want to do this month, you see how I'm moving it back? I'm not saying based on where I want to be in 5 years, what I do this month. My month is based on my year, my week is based on my month, and my day is based on my week. And it's just a framework for breaking down these really big, ambitious goals and going, hey, I don't have a crystal ball, but I feel like I'm doing the right thing.
I really loved what you started with there by saying, give yourself a Saturday morning and really allow yourself to dream and cast a big vision. It's hard to do in this busy, crazy world, but even just
Saturday is maybe the worst day for a realtor to dream, right? They're out working with their clients. Okay, but yes.
But it is powerful, and I know people do their vision boards, and you hear so many so many stories about that. But that's maybe the piece sometimes when we're talking about goal setting that we forget to do. Is that what you see?
Well, I alluded to it earlier. For 14 years, and my wife gets the whole credit, you know, we do business retreats. Like we go with our team, if you're on a team, maybe in your market center, right? You have a retreat and you plan for the next year or for the next 5 years. It's like when I get called in to do speeches, most commonly to a group of executives that are in a spa somewhere or a golf course. They had to get out of their work environment so they could imagine their future for the next quarter or the next year. And it works for business. We've been doing it for decades in business, but we don't do it in our personal lives. And we kind of stumbled into that for our marriage relationship. And so I love it. I look forward to it, even though it's a lot of work, but we take usually 1 or 2 days minimum. Like, you know, the first year we just actually, I think we went on Priceline, got a really cheap hotel downtown. We didn't even leave town. And I remember we gave $100 to our babysitter to watch our kids overnight. It was like the first night we'd spent away from them, which was great and glorious in itself when you have 2 small kids in diapers. But then we asked the question, what do we want to accomplish this year? In the beginning, it was just the next year. Now we look at a bigger vision and then based on that, the year. But I would encourage everyone to do that. I can tell you, we've now been facilitating a goal setting retreat for 4 years for couples primarily, but also for teams and individuals. And the clarity people get by making just 1 day investment and just stopping what they're doing, not walk the dog, right? Don't wash the laundry, get out of that pattern of day-to-day life and try to imagine their future. They get so much clarity. And clarity is what drives everything. If we're clear about what we're going, where we're going and why we're going there, it makes navigating this week or this month so much easier.
You know, and speaking of the most important person in your world, your wife, I know I was actually speaking to somebody on our ALC yesterday. Both of us are actively binge listening to the Empire Builders at the moment.
Yay.
I love the story that she tells in one of the earlier episodes about you and your wife, Wendy, being the only 2 to show up for a training on, I believe it was on determining your net worth.
It was me. Yeah. So I can tell you, this is like one of the most important things we try to get couples to do, and this is actually true of business partners. So any relationship that involves money, if you're not speaking the same language and on the same plan, it's going to create conflict. So Mo Anderson, when I first joined the company, was still our CEO, right? A lot of us just only know her as vice chairman. And this cultural figure, right, that shows up for our inspirational brunch. But she was actually the CEO. And there were about 27 employees in KW. And every Wednesday morning, we had a different training session, right? We're a training company, even at headquarters. And this particular week, we were studying a balance sheet for a market center.
Sounds exciting, Jay.
Oh, sexy, right? Let's look at our assets and liabilities, right? But I'm a new employee, so I show up, and I'm the only person in the company who hasn't studied this or is admitting that they haven't studied this. And our CEO walks in the room. And this says a lot about Mo and how she values leadership, as Gary defines it, teaching people how to think. I thought she'd cancel the class. Like, what a waste of her valuable time to have an hour dedicated, not to a lot of employees, but just one guy who's not even out of his first 90 days. So we don't even know if he's going to stick. But her reaction was, well, goody, instead of having a class, let's just have a one-on-one coaching session, which immediately scared the, whatever out of me. I was like, what? That's a lot of attention when you're a brand new employee. But she walked me through a balance sheet. And that's, if people don't know what that is for your business, a lot of real estate businesses don't have a balance sheet. We have a P&L because we don't have a lot of receivables and other things outside of the closing pending period. But a balance sheet shows you your assets and your liabilities. And some of your assets might be income that's owed to you by people. And some of your liabilities may be money that you owe to other people, debt. Well, she just challenged me and Wendy to do a personal balance sheet, a net worth sheet. And that was the very first time we'd ever heard the words net worth. And I remember I went home, we were living in an apartment. We didn't even have a home yet. And we were like, the biggest assets we had, I had a 401k and we had a Toyota Tercel that within a year would go from 4 cylinders to 3 cylinders. Like, it was not a good car. But what was good is our net worth was positive. We didn't have a lot of debt. We didn't have a lot of credit card debt or school debt. And at the end of the day, our net worth was a little over $2,200. We didn't do a lot with that at that time, other than we realized, wow, we're spending $1,400 a month or whatever on rent. We should have a mortgage, right? We should have an asset to represent that instead of just this cash flow. And so that prompted us to buy our first home. And then a couple of years later, with the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, I learned how important it is to track your net worth. And we started tracking it every month and set a goal to be millionaires in 10 years, which we did in about 6.5, honestly. It was something that happens a lot faster if you're doing the right things. So I just said a lot. I'm sorry. You put a quarter in the jukebox and it just played a long song on you.
No, but I love that song. From the leadership through KW and you guys and Mark King and Wealth Building Wednesdays, a couple of years ago, my husband and I locked ourselves in a hotel and forced ourselves to do that. We hate it. And it's really been liberating. Having that net worth on paper it simplifies things. So.
Well, I know Mark is going to teach wealth building, so we won't go too far down that for this session. But I will say this, you did something, you went and locked yourself in a hotel room. And I do think Jeff, who hosts our podcast on The One Thing, and I were teaching a class at Family Reunion a few years back. We had 2,000 people in the room. It was a 2,000 seat room, and we had people sitting in the aisles. And it was how billionaires set goals. And we were going to talk about some of the things that we talked about, having a bigger framework. And just off the cuff, I asked the question, how many of y'all have set goals? Raise your hand. And 2,000 plus hands were raised. And then I just asked the question, how many of you worked with your significant other in building those goals for this year? And all but 4 hands in the room went down. And the energy just completely changed. It was really weird. And 2 of the hands were me and Jeff. And one of the people on the front row was on my team and had done that. So there was only one person in the room that organically had made the decision to sit down with their significant other and say, these are my goals. And I would just say, it's still early, right? It's early in the year. If you have not shared your goals with your significant other, sit down with them, say, this is what we're doing. This is why it's important, and ask, how do they feel about that? But I feel like we're entrepreneurs, and real estate is one of the craziest, most entrepreneurial businesses. I mean, last year we all pivoted on a dime and we changed our businesses and did great. We're very entrepreneurial. That's exciting to us. We're driving a sports car, right? The real estate business is a Ferrari, and we are driving down the coastal highway and enjoying the view and taking the curves. Our spouses are wearing a blindfold in the back seat. They don't know what's coming. They're just being battered around, and then they just feel sick. And we wonder why there's that tension. And 9 times out of 10, it's because we just haven't involved them in the vision. And for me and Wendy, it's really important. I'm a massive introvert. Like, I get my energy from being alone. I like to be in the woods with my dog, someone who's not going to speak to me, right? I want to read a book. I want to watch a movie. She gets her energy by being around people. And guess what? Her birthday is usually about 3 or 4 days from mega camp every year. Ooh. So guess who throws a massive birthday party at our house when I have to be on stage all day the next day?
You do it with a smile?
No, when the police showed up, I stopped smiling, right? Because she's got a dance party in my backyard. But because we got on the same page, now for the last couple of years, she's gonna throw these parties for herself. She just now rents a hotel room for me. But we now know, like, I also understand, hey, this is not just her being social. These are people who send her referrals. She's building relationships with these people. Those people went on to be podcast hosts with her on Empire Building, right? Sue Adler is in their network with Amplify and all of that. These are really important relationships to her. We were able to talk about it, and now we have a plan where I'm not quietly furious with her for upsetting my preparation, and I can also just be happy for her, and I'm just watching a movie in a hotel room and going to bed early, which is what I need. So that's one of the ways it shows up. So it's not too late. Share your goals. Share why they're important, why you're doing some of the things you're doing. You might be really surprised by how the home life improves when you do that. I'm passionate about that. I'm sorry. That's like a big soapbox issue for me.
I love it. And you remind me that as team leader, we need to bring some things into our world and run some trainings to encourage everybody to do that. Speaking of relationship building, that's what this business is, right?
Yeah.
So it's been my absolute joy to get to know you a little bit because, you are a big shot. You're like best-selling New York Times, Wall Street Journal author, but you're such a nice guy. But
Thank you.
I don't really know you that well yet. So how about before you go, 10 rapid fire questions so we know you a little better.
Oh, this is fun. Okay.
Ready?
This is like, yeah.
What'd you have for breakfast?
Nothing. I'm intermittent fasting. So I had black coffee. But before I did that, my favorite go-to breakfast would be like a really healthy, like organic waffle with some really good peanut butter on it. Because we work out in the mornings, a little carbs, a little protein goes a long way.
My next question was coffee or tea, but you already told us.
Always coffee.
Cold
It's
brewed?
almost never tea unless I'm sick. I am a coffee guy.
Okay. Cold brewed, hot brewed.
Hot.
Got it. Okay. What are you reading?
Right now, I'm reading a novel called Line of Vision that Gary gave me, which is actually quite good. It won an Edgar Award, and I like a good thriller. And I decided to start my 2021 with something really positive. So I'm listening to Green Lights with Matthew McConaughey. And it's a kind of a philosophical life book, and he's actually reading it. So if I'm driving around my car, like it's just a really pleasant way to experience really positive thoughts is to have Matthew McConaughey in your ear talking about green lights. It's literally green lights on the road. Like you want green lights in your life. So I can recommend that one pretty highly. I'll tell you about Line of Vision later.
Okay. You binge watching any TV shows?
Yeah, I finally got around and watching the final season of Homeland. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
A little bit.
When we took our kids to England about 5 years ago, I was trying to get back on Austin time. So everybody was asleep but me, but I thought I'd get on my iPad and see what was on Netflix. Well, Homeland was free on Netflix in England where I was, and I watched like the first 5 episodes. I was up all night. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best show ever. Then I get home and we had to pay for it. So I probably, I'd done it I should have just gotten a Showtime subscription or whatever, but I've just been piecemealing it. But it's great. It's a fantastic series. Can I give you a couple tips to, like, everybody's already seen The Queen's Gambit. Got it. We all saw that. Some of the same actors are in an earlier Netflix miniseries called Godless.
Okay.
It takes about 2 episodes, but it's 7 episodes. It's a Western. Jeff Daniels is the best villain I've ever seen, ever. Like, he's up there with Darth Vader to me now. And it is fabulous writing. It's about a town where all the men die in a mining accident. So there's a Western town run by women. I mean, if that doesn't get you, I don't know what does. It's fabulous.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. You tell I like to talk about books and movies. So, like, this is my fun stuff.
Well, that's why I figured we'd end with this. Board games? Favorite board game?
Oh gosh, historically it was always Risk. We've had some epic games of Risk. If you've ever played Exploding Kittens, this is now my kids. The oatmeal.com. It's pretty funny.
Okay, make a note of that.
Super Fight is another card game that I love to. I judge, but basically you get 3 cards. One is a person or a persona, and then 2 are superpowers. And then you argue about who would kill who in a fight. So you might get Darth Vader with the ability to be invisible in an army of zombies against Gandhi with the ability to levitate, but flamethrower breath or something, and then you argue about who wins the fight.
Is this for real, Jay?
Totally real. It's called Super Fight. It's just for people who love to argue and debate. And watching my daughter and my wife challenge each other about who wins is hilarious.
All right, 2 more. What do you miss most from the pre-COVID world?
Movies. I'm actually an investor with Gary in a movie theater chain called the Alamo Drafthouse. It's like sells itself as the theater for movie lovers. And that was like a regular date night. That was the way that Wendy and I could spend time together, but you could go and eat dinner and have a movie. And but I also got to just hold her hand in the dark for a couple of hours. And I love a good movie. My work brain turns off, and I miss the theater experience.
Awesome. Me too. Last question. Speaking about dreamy, I dream about the day when we can have events back in Austin.
Yeah.
So what we really need to know is, what's your favorite restaurant in Austin?
Wow, we're foodies. So if you've never been to Uchi, I'll tell you, it's a singular experience. The chef there was like an Iron Chef at one point. He learned sushi in Japan from the masters, but then he brought a Texas fusion. And so you'll have like sushi with jalapenos and things like you've never had before. And I can just say that it's one of the only places I've ever been that I've only ever had the menu, the chef's menu. And I just trust them. I'm just like, if I ordered, I wouldn't know what to order. I just tell kind of and they have fabulous service. So that is one of them. And I'm going to give you two because I know the chef. There's a place called Olame.
Olame.
And the chef is a guy named Michael Fotoge. I interviewed him when we were doing The One Thing and after. He has been a James Beard finalist, I think 3 times. And when he lived in New York, he was in New York. He was working in a Michelin restaurant there. He was missing the South. We're both from, he's near Memphis, Tennessee, where I grew up. And we bonded over biscuits and all this stuff. And he goes, oh, biscuits. When I was in New York and I was homesick, I got every kind of flour I could find and every kind of fat, right? Butter of all kinds. And I tried to figure out what the ultimate biscuit was. He spent a couple of years playing with it. And so they're not even on the menu. But if you go to Olame, the first thing you say is, we want to order a biscuits. And they bring it to you with a honey butter that they make in-house. And I mean, my mouth is watering. It is like, I don't care if you're on a keto diet, you're blowing it. That is a delicacy to be had. So Olame and Uchi would be two. You got 2 nights in Austin, knock those off.
All right. We hopefully that's one day soon. Jay, it has been absolutely delightful to get to spend some time with you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. And we look forward to seeing you in person one day soon.
I agree. I hope I can make it up to New Jersey. I know that Wendy and I would love to come up and visit whenever it's safe. And we look forward to seeing y'all in Austin. Thank you so much for having me. And hopefully people will, one, set bigger goals for their future and share them with their significant others so that this year they can navigate together.
Thanks so much. So hopefully you all agree with me that there was a lot of really great content there. We will be looking to add some of those things that we talked about to our calendars here, so stay tuned for that. I often hear people say they think KW is all about teams. Well, it's true. We do have the tools and the systems to help people build massively big, successful teams. Would you be surprised to know that around 2/3 of our agents actually fly solo? That's right. The majority of our agents are solo agents out there conquering the real estate world without a large team behind them. And here's a little secret. Many of them are soaring to great heights on their solo flights. Please join me in welcoming John Haydu, Donna Good, and Carlos Gomez. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi there.
So you guys are all so impressive and so powerful and are absolutely killing the game. Thank you so much for being willing to share some of your secrets with us. Donna is in Montclair, John Haydu in the Montclair office, and Carlos Gomez in our Westfield office. So guys, 2020 threw a lot of curveballs, right? But you guys all still managed to sell a heck of a lot of real estate as solo agents. John, I'd love to start with you. What do you do to close so many transactions and help so many families just as a one-man band?
I just think this year for agents that are looking into this, I've been establishing myself for a while now. So I think what happened was the sun and the moon aligned properly. COVID came, we had listings that we've worked on for years, and we had buyers, and then the market just popped. So the timing was right with that. To me, you have to be careful with looking at last year and then looking forward to this year. But I think that, yeah, it was just everything lined up properly for us to do really well in a short amount of time. Because remember, we sat at home for what, 2 months?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So
Donna, how about you? What came together last year in the current market that really helped you be so successful?
So I think that once COVID hit, everyone went into panic mode, right? The whole world was upside down. And I think we all took stock in what was happening and realizing, you know what, this can be overcome. We can work together. And basically, I took my business practices and those 6 weeks reassessed, okay, if our listings are not coming on in spring market, I guess we'll have to push it to summer market. You know, our summer market became our spring market. And basically, I think perseverance and just, you know, keeping in close communication with our clients, our sphere of influence, I think that was a good time in reconnecting with everyone, checking in, making sure everybody was okay, and then carrying on and getting it done for the rest of the year while being sensitive to everyone's feelings about the pandemic and how to handle taking people out and how comfortable they were in, you know, bringing you into their home. So I think it was a very tenuous time in the beginning, but I think we managed to work it out and make, you know, our stories continue with, you know, successful transactions in a very challenging market and time.
You know, I hear solo agents, like everyone, but in particular, talk about juggling a lot. It's hard, you're doing a lot. Most solo agents have some leverage, but not as much as people on a big team. And, you know, I have got to just talk about Carlos Gomez, because for those who don't know, Carlos is an EMT supervisor for the Elizabeth Fire Department. And last year, and first of all, thank you for all of you do as a first responder. Last year, Carlos worked, ready for this, drum roll please, about 60 hours a week in that capacity and still managed to sell $8 million worth of real estate. So, Carlos, you have some secrets to tell us about time management. How do you manage to stay so productive?
So, when COVID hit, my title was very demanding. We were mandated overtime. We were working during the months of March through April, May was like insane. But I still managed to sell a lot of homes during those months, even though a lot of my time was spent at the fire department. But a lot of my clients, probably about 75-80% of my clients, are firefighters, police officers, teachers, nurses, doctors. So my time being in the pandemic as a frontline worker actually benefited me from building more relationships or keeping constant communication with my clients, because we were right there going through like the grind, like seeing death and people very sick. But then at the same time, people are like, you know, I'm thinking about selling my house. And it's kind of an odd conversation when you just dealt with a COVID crisis. But, you know, I was their go-to person at the time. So, and they knew I was still actively working as a realtor. So it actually benefited me. How do I manage to time block? Yeah, I do. And I'm still doing about 60 hours a week now because the demand is still there. You know, you just got to utilize your time. Like I do a lot of stuff while I'm there when I see the people, because I'm in front of them. So it's a lot of face-to-face time, which benefits me, because with COVID, a lot of people couldn't see people in person because a lot of people were working from home. For me, it was complete opposite. I was able to see everyone face-to-face for months, every day. So, and then that's how, and I would always like, listen, I spent a lot of time on the MLS looking, researching. And if I happen to see a property that I know is near somebody's property, I would contact that person, say, hey, listen, this house just came on the market. I know we spoke about 2 years ago. You know, right now the prices seem to be going up now because the summer, it seems like the summer, everything like went up in price. So I was able to get about 4 or 5 deals that way, just by reaching out to people I spoke to 2 years ago, just because the market seemed like it was in the uptick. So, that's pretty much how I was able to gain a lot of business, by being at work more often, believe it or not.
That's awesome. I mean, I know it's something Bridget Robertshaw talked about earlier, that if you, whatever your lead gen is, if you're doing something you love, there's usually other people there. They become your sphere and your clients. John, I know you and I spoke about this a little bit. No disrespect to teams. I used to run a team, love teams. They do great things. But if you're treating scripts as the poetry of real estate, as Dave Jenks says, and you're on a listing appointment, what kind of scripts are you using to help someone understand the benefits of hiring a solo agent?
I think with COVID, it's a little harder too, because sometimes you're wearing the mask. So I like to read people when I'm on an interview. That's the difference. With me, with a team, I'm kind of a personality type, so I like to be in charge of everything, but I enjoy the job. So I don't have a problem with doing the extra step. Like, for instance, last Saturday, my client's in Florida and their boiler broke when I went to the basement. There was an inch of water in the basement. So I just dealt with that all weekend for them. These are the little things that I'll do differently than a team, because my clients get to call me all the time. I know people don't want to do that, but I don't really want to be on a team. I kind of like running my business as my business. I think people are going to hire me. They're hiring me to sell their house. They're hiring me to negotiate. They're hiring me to do the home inspection. That's just the way I feel. Like, when I deal with teams, I feel like I'm always, oh God, who do I have to call to put the offer in? Who do I have to talk to get, to do the home inspection? So if you're going to do a deal with me, I'm going to do everything, and it makes the process a lot easier for me.
One of the things that I love about having, we had teams on earlier and have you guys on now, is I saw somebody type in the chat, should I join a team? There's no right or wrong answer. And that's what's so great about real estate. You can do what you want in so many different ways, right? Donna, talk to me a little bit about what your values are for your quality of service to your clients that keep so many of them coming back and referring to you. I know you provide a great experience.
Yes, I have, Shannon. So, with me, similar to what John said, I am their go-to person. And I think part of the reason of my success is that I am willing to do what needs to get done in terms of, if something breaks in their house, if they need an inspection and they're in Florida and someone needs to close out a permit, I will be there. I also feel that, similar to what one of the other panelists was talking about, regarding your team, having a good certified list of contractors, electricians, painters, people that are behind you, that when you go to your clients, you can say to them, hey, I've got a team supporting me. This is my back office. I'm the front end. So I think that in general, my clients rely on me for expertise advice regarding marketing their home, listing their home, as well as providing them with the service of who to go to get it staged and ready, whether it be me staging it, whether I facilitate whatever needs to get done. So that's part of my success, I feel.
So I'd love to throw this one out to you guys. I think people that are doing less business than you, the biggest question they usually have is, where do I get more leads? Where are you guys getting your business? Where are you having success with that?
With me, I have a very broad sphere of influence. I've been living in my area, which is North Caldwell, for over 30 plus years. I've raised children in the school system. I also, talking about, lead generating when you're out in public doing fun things that you love. I love to play tennis. I'm on a, round robin league. So I generate leads just from going to tennis and people saying, hey, Donna, what about that house? Or can you come over and look at mine? What do I need to do to get it listed? Just general, leads from, believe it or not, I've been very successful in the past and continue to be with Zillow. I know Zillow is a very hot topic within the past couple of weeks, but I would say every year I get at least 5 leads from Zillow that turn to be successful. Okay.
Yeah, no, the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate. We've got to all talk about it and share and learn. Carlos, I know for you, you said the majority of your leads come from your sphere. Is that the same with you, John?
I think for younger agents, I think we're just in a different time with COVID. So because the market's so hot and the inventory's low, if you do an open house, you're not really interacting with people. So like when I started in the business, I was doing probably 50 to 55 open houses a year when I first got into business. Because when you first get into the business, you're not going to get listings right away. So what you want to do is you want to learn how to work with buyers. So that's what I kind of did. I started working with big agents, asked if I could do their open houses for them, started building a rapport with that. But then those buyers eventually become sellers. They refer you to other people. I can tell you, I worked with someone in the office when I first started, and they were a $200,000 buyer. He was a really nice kid. It ended up, I worked with him and agents in the office like, oh, let him go. And I didn't let him go. He ended up buying a $500,000 house, gave me his friend who was a football player, bought $1 million house, gave me his friend who was a $800,000. So a $200,000 buyer can turn into $4 million if you network it the right way. So you have to just do every transaction one at a time, service your clients the right way, and they will actually come back to you and they will give you business.
Yes.
Advice that we've heard before, and it bears repeating. It's how you guys have all built big businesses. I know the focus right now is getting listings, right? We know that. We heard all of that from Howard in his analysis of the data. What are you guys doing right now to focus on listings?
I have 3 that are coming on the market soon. They're all sources of mine from the frontline first responder type. So like an old client will call me, hey, do you do Roselle? Yes. So, I have a friend I went to high school with. She's going to call you. Okay. Then it's just repeated call after call for all these frontline first responders that I've dealt with before in the past, or they're getting reference. Another thing I could stress is don't be what I like to say, don't be a secret agent. Like, so tell people you're an agent, especially on your personal Facebook page. Do things, not daily, don't overwhelm it, but occasionally, do things like, oh, look, I'm previewing a house, or I'm in the office doing paperwork. Because then you have to constantly remind people that you're a realtor, because they're going to forget, and then they're going to call the next person. So if you constantly remind them that you're a realtor, they will remember, and it might actually, they'll be reminded the day you do it. So like recently I did a photography session. I invited a few new agents. I posted it. Oh, look, I'm helping new agents. They're learning the business, this and that. I got 3 Facebook messages that day. One, they want to buy. The other wants to sell. And the other one's wants to know the price of the house. And just like that, like I didn't even do anything. I just posted that.
You know what you did? You also did there, Carlos, and I know you do this often. It's a great part of the culture here at KW is you're constantly offering to let people shadow you and teach. And I love that so much. That's amazing. Donna, what about you? Where are you finding listings?
So right now, I mean, interestingly enough, I just got a text last night. My client who I am listing their house currently, we're almost near completion, close date, said, hey, my friend is looking to list in the same town within the next few months. So past clients, current clients, and just calling people that you haven't talked to in a few weeks and just staying on top, open houses that you've sat. You understand they're putting off listing their house until the spring. I've already made those calls this month, seeing who wants to get together in March or April to get this going. So just past performance, open houses, referrals, etc.
That's great. John, anything to add on that for listing focus right now?
I just think with the low inventory, it's everybody's talking about growth and all the appointments that I've heard today, but I think you want to retain too. It's sometimes you're not always going to grow every year, and maybe this year because the inventory is lower, I'm working more with buyers this year than I am. I'm a little light in listings compared to how I was last year. So, but I'm working with more buyers. So it just seems like I'll be more buyer orientated this year, just because there just aren't as many in our market in the Montclair area. If you look at the numbers, there's just not a lot of inventory. So you really have to just understand how the market's shifting and evolve to it. You have to change.
You got to be nimble and
Yeah.
and focused. You guys, thanks so much. I see a little bit of stuff in the chat, so if you guys can stick around and answer a couple of questions there, that would be great. And I thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us. So there's an expression bandied around KW quite a bit, that money is good for the good it can do. We are also fond of saying that our work in real estate is what enables us to have a life worth living. For those of you who are fortunate enough to know your big why, chances are having the necessary wealth to support your larger life mission is part of what drives you to help so many people. As realtors, many of us don't know enough about wealth building. How many agents do you know who may struggle to pay their taxes on April 15th? Many of you here probably don't feel entirely comfortable with what you've saved for retirement. Some of you may not feel you have the financial peace of mind to know that you could write a check to help out a loved one next time this crazy world hurls a curveball in our direction. This is a topic that Mark King, who is the Keller Williams Director of Growth, is very passionate about. He loves to help realtors ensure their financial wealth is grown to the point that they can meet their financial obligations and live a fulfilled life. You'll want to pay close attention to what Mark has to say. Hello, Mr. Mark King. How are you?
I'm so wonderful. How are you?
I am fabulous. And, everybody here is very excited to hear from you. The topic of our program today, the state of the market, our topic is growth. And you, as the director of growth for the largest real estate company on the planet, you must know a little something about growth.
I signed up for this role right before the pandemic, and we all freaked out a little bit, to be honest with you. And we had an amazing year. We made it through. People are safe and healthy. And I know we had a lot of challenges, but it's been one for the record books.
So here's the thing. Sometimes I feel mad at you. Do you know why?
I hope not. Why?
I do. Because over the last year or so, I've paid a lot more attention to you and all the talk that you do on wealth building. And sometimes wealth building isn't as much fun as spending money. Can you relate to that?
100%. And I like cars. My sister always says I cross boundaries, and this is what she means, right? I make people think about actually building wealth and what they're going to do for retirement and all those things. That's not fun. Let's go buy another Porsche.
Right. But in case people want to grow their wealth, we know that with realtors, that can be challenging, right? Your taxes don't come out, your retirement doesn't come out, and people end up in a jam quite often. So this is a passion of yours. What do we need to know as realtors about protecting and growing our wealth?
Yeah, you're right on. And I will tell you, all kidding aside, I grew up very poor. And so this is something that's near and dear to my heart. It's something I felt like I could deliver massive value to a lot of people without asking anything in return. And I follow the Zig Ziglar line. You help enough other people get what they want, you get what you want. And it's absolutely true. So I started out, when I joined Keller Williams, it was such a different environment from the company that I came from, right? And this is 20 years ago. We didn't talk about money and wealth. And, we might've talked about how to sell another house, but that was the extent of it. And so I came to this Keller Williams company, and I heard these amazing people talk about things that were so much more important to life. And those were things like, hey, it doesn't matter how much money, money flows into your life, it flows out of your life, but how you handle that money is going to determine whether or not you're going to be wealthy. And I heard something that just lit me on fire growing up the way that I did. And I forget the speaker at the time, but what he said was, we all make enough money to be wealthy, but 3% of us are. And I thought that can't be true. And then I went and studied the average household income. I studied what if you put 15% of that away for the course of your life, and lo and behold, it's millions of dollars in retirement. So we don't have a challenge of earning money in this country, and we're very blessed. We do have a challenge in how we handle money, what we spend money on, and all those things. Here's the other piece, Shannon. We are marketed to more than 10,000 times per day, and COVID has only exacerbated that. And so 10,000 times a day, you have professionals who went to school for this stuff to learn how to put their hands in your pocket, take your money out. And we're supposed to be really disciplined and smart and keep people from doing that and suddenly build wealth. It just doesn't happen. And add to that the fact that we're commission only, we have irregular income, we're in real estate, nobody talks about this, we didn't learn it in school. And I took it on, 18 years ago, I started teaching this course in my local office. And of course, it's ballooned into thousands of people in a Facebook community. I also teach wealth building for Keller Williams now with Jay Papazan, who you heard from, who's an amazing partner. So this is such an important topic. And it's one that most companies, I don't know any companies that really focus on it. I hadn't heard the term passive income before I joined Keller Williams. I didn't own a rental property. There were all kinds of things that this company taught me. And now my job, my duty, my calling, my just cause is to take that to people and help pass that forward. So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
If only 3% of the people grow wealth, what do we need to know? What's the difference between the people who are managing to do that and the people who aren't?
Well, there's no get rich quick schemes. There's guaranteed get rich slow schemes. Those are things like take a percentage of your commission check. By the way, first of all, you got to pay your taxes. You got to keep your expenses in control. Here's another point, Shannon. I never looked at my numbers. I didn't know how to read a P&L, for example, before I joined Keller Williams. We didn't have the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book yet that lined it all out for us, but we had the white papers behind it. And Gary Keller was so smart to do this because I was a sales guy. I love listing houses. And I can tell you that I had a very successful years, and I looked up at the end of the year and I had no money. And I had the nice car, but I had no money. And after a few years, I thought I wake up every January and I'm broke again, and I'm starting over again, and I have nothing to show for my last year other than a car that's going down in value. So I learned how to read a balance sheet. I learned to pay my taxes, which is a big challenge for independent contractors. I learned how to save for the future. And so whether it's a set it and forget it certified financial planner mode where you just put 15% of your commission check, into a Schwab account and it's qualified retirement, and you put some into Roth or a backdoor Roth, and you take advantage of all those things that we as realtors don't study, then that's a guaranteed path to build wealth if you start soon enough, right? The challenge is most of us, and I think the stat I saw the other day is the average realtor now is 53 years of age. At 53 years of age, it's a lot more difficult because of the miracle that is compound interest to really build enough retirement in time to be able to retire on your nest egg. And so the other big element of what made this company amazing is this crazy thing that they have called profit share. And I have to tell you, when I joined Keller Williams in 2000, I didn't buy into the profit share piece. It was, it was rah, it was all those things. I just wanted to sell more houses and I wanted to be cheaper than the place I was. And I hate to admit that, because this company changed my life. It changed who I was. It's interesting. I like to say, and I don't know where I got this, I'm not taking credit for it, but I stole it basically, standing on the shoulders of giants. But Keller Williams is not about what you get. I think that's the mistake a lot of us make, is we're so excited and passionate about this company because what it's done for us. And we're like, hey, you got to come over to Keller. We have this amazing technology, and we got this awesome profit share, and we got this cool stuff, and we consulting, and all the different things. Keller Williams is about who you become.
Through listening to you and lots of others in this company, I've really found some peace with really talking more about net worth than just income and money. I think I remember one of your wealth building Wednesdays recently where you were talking to Rebecca, your partner in crime, about the importance of that. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, I think net worth is one of those things we don't talk about. And it's like religion, it's like politics. It's, this year we've got some great examples of what not to talk about to keep pleasant company around you, right? And so we don't talk about money. We don't talk about net worth. We don't put a focus on it because it's taken sometimes the wrong way. Here's the challenge. It's one of the most important things we need to focus on. And, this whole wealth building journey started 17 years ago because I had a coach in real estate. I was getting burnt out, honestly, on real estate sales. And I'd go listen to their house and we'd sell it and we'd make a little money and all that was great. And I didn't know there were such things as expansion and all the opportunities we have today. And my coach told me, you need something to focus on that's bigger than real estate, that's bigger than yourself, that's right. And you need to find some way to give back. And so I said, well, I'll help 10 people go passive. Now that I know what that means, And I got there very quickly with real estate investments and others and profit share. And I said, I'll help 10 people go passive. And of course, my coach, if you know my coach at the time, he's someone who challenges you like no one else. And he said, oh my gosh, I think you can do 100. So that's what launched this whole wealth building journey. Is I had to take on the challenge to help 100 people, 100 families get passive. And that means you have to think different systems, different models. You have to think bigger. I had to have a different platform. Like I could personally coach 10 people there. You know, it would take some time. Rebecca, who you mentioned, was number 144 along this journey. So there's 144 people that we've worked with, sold them nothing, did it because it was the right thing to do, and it's a passion of ours, and now we have this strong community around it, and 144 people now have more passive income than their monthly expenses. And that's a journey worth taking. That's a focus worth having. And oh, by the way, when you're doing that, it's interesting. People will ask me, and I ask this of several people when I talk to them when they've built their passive income to that level, why do you still work? What's amazing and what's awesome is I do what I do today because I love it. I can't get enough of it. I want to influence. I want to lead. I want to help. I want to do all those things, not because of the money. And it's interesting. When you stop working for the money, you tend to enjoy what you do at a much different level. When you're only working for the money, you tend not to enjoy it as much. So that's a long answer to your short question. I apologize for rambling.
No, it's a great answer. Mark, if people want to start to bring these topics of wealth building into their life more, what do you recommend?
You have to be around people who talk about it. You have to be around people who know about it. You know, I know you just saw Jay, by the way, Jay and his wife, Wendy, have a wealth building group privately among the people that work with them. And so they're doing the same thing. They're just doing it internally in their businesses, and they're helping all their people, regardless of the role they're in, to build wealth and to understand. And by the way, this is way more than just profit share. This is growth stock mutual funds. This is investing in real estate. All the people that I mentioned before have real estate investments now. And so that was a big cornerstone to building wealth. And we know that it's a big cornerstone to all wealth building. So I think where you start is you get in a community that talks about this. You're welcome to join my closed Facebook group, but I'm here to tell you, it is so much more powerful to be in a group. And I know, the pandemic's caused a little challenge around this, but be in a group where you can hold each other accountable, actually share your net worth with each other. Your net worth should be going up every single month, and have an accountability group and make it fun and give yourself some challenges and some benchmarks and all that stuff. I would say, Shannon, what I know about you now is that, and the reason you're mad at me is you're paying attention to this more than you ever have before. The cool thing also is you're such a strong leader that you're going to attract a lot of people into this conversation. Here's the best part for you. We'll just put everybody else in the silence cone. And the best part for you is by being a leader in that environment, you will be held accountable to grow your own wealth. You'll get the benefit of that. The truth of the matter is, I grew up so poor in poverty that I teach wealth building because it keeps me in line. It keeps me in check. It keeps me focused on the things that I know are going to take care of my family and all those around me. And so I think, and that's kind of a lesson to I share that all over the country. If you want to build your wealth, go start your own group. And if you do that, it's going to force you to study, to read, to get on YouTube, be careful of the internet and all those things. But start out, our market center is a perfect vehicle for this. It was physical, now it's virtual, but there's already a community of hundreds of people there. And you'll find, at least in my offices, I know yours too, you'll find people love to talk about this, and they'll open up more, and you'll hear best practices, and it'll be exciting, and you'll hit benchmarks, and you'll have a big thermometer on the wall, and you'll check off when you pay off that last debt, and you'll do all those fun things, and then you can't stop the energy.
What you're talking about is a lot, very similar to what Jay was saying, and he really focuses a lot on getting people to do this with their partners and their spouses, et cetera. So we're gonna make a commitment here to pull more of that into our market center. You have given us some great stuff to think about. Can we just have a little fun before you go?
Sure. Do I have to go already? Man, that was fat. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
That's right. We both like to yap. I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions just for fun. Okay.
All right.
What's for breakfast in Mark King's world?
I don't eat breakfast. I've been intermittent fasting and on the keto diet. And so I go, and now I'm fat adapted. I go 20 hours without eating and then 4 hours on. don't get me started on it. It's been a huge benefit to my health, and I'm super excited about that.
So you're our second guest today who's intermittent fasting. So we'll all be paying attention to that. Work-life balance. What do you do for fun?
You know, if you asked me that pre-pandemic, it would have been a different answer. On March 13th, we brought our 16-year-old down for his birthday party to our lake house, and we went in lockdown, and I never left. I went back to my home in St. Louis. We're about 2 hours away, Lake of the Ozarks. If you've seen the show on Netflix, that's my show. That's where I'm headed after this, is to go meet with anyway. So, but I never left. I went back to St. Louis one time to list my home and sold it in a couple days. I knew a good realtor. And so for fun, the boat has been amazing this year because it's really all we could do that was socially distanced. Right out on the lake, you're 6 feet apart no matter what. So that was really our downtime, is all about hanging out on the lake. In the wintertime, I built a golf simulator in my basement. So we're coming up with all kinds of creative ways to hang out and have fun. My wife loves, we're big family people, and my wife loves golf and she loves boats. So we hang out all the time.
Sounds like a good gig.
Yeah.
What do you miss most pre-pandemic?
People, hugs, being in person. I was on over 2,000 Zooms last year, and it's just draining. It's you have to be on all the time. You can't scratch your nose. You can't, you got something on your face and everybody can see it, right? And in my world, that's 13 hours a day on this screen. And my eyes, I didn't wear glasses all the time before the pandemic. There's a lot of challenges. So what I miss most is being around people, being physical, hugging people. It's been a challenge. Family, all that good stuff.
All right, last question. What are you binging on? Reading, podcasts?
Oh my gosh. So there's a ton of stuff. Right now, there's so many financial books because of some projects that I'm working on and because of wealth building. But The Psychology of Money with Morgan Housel is amazing. I love anything Simon Sinek has written. I love everything that Dave Ramsey has written. I love Robert Kiyosaki. Think and Grow Rich. I read Once a Quarter by Napoleon Hill, Richest Man in Babylon. Like, I can go on and on with the wealth building books. I just watched News of the World with Tom Hanks with my family last night. We paid the $20 to rent it, and it was a fantastic movie. So we'll do a movie every now and then. I tend to not watch the news, and I'm not unhappy about that. And so anything else, leadership, anything else pertinent to this? Definitely everything wealth building. Here's one stat that I'll share with you that I'm always reminded of. Wealthy people spend on average of 8 hours a month looking at their finances and planning their wealth. 8 hours a month. It's 2 hours a week. For my group, I provide an hour of that with wealth building, right? So all they have to do is fill in the other hour, look at their personal balance sheets, that sort of thing. People who aren't wealthy spend 0 hours a month looking at their wealth building strategy. So if all I could do is have you model what wealthy people do, you have a much greater chance of becoming wealthy. First step is awareness. It's mindset. Everything begins and ends with mindset. So whether it's YouTube or books or podcasts or whatever you can get your hands on wealth building, and here would be the rule that I would give you if you allowed me to. It would be open to everything and question everything. Be open to every idea, because there's a lot of great ideas out there and you're to find a ton of them. But also question all of them. When you see the YouTube person with the brand new Lamborghini behind them and they're 12, just question some of their tactics. If they're going to tell you how to get rich in the next 4 months, I don't know that plan, right? So just be open to everything, question everything. Have a board of directors. Who you surround yourself with matters. There are people out there who are further down the road than you are. And here's what I know about wealthy people. Almost to a person that I've met along this journey who's been wealthy has been absolutely open to sharing with me, coaching me, helping me, giving me their opinion. Again, I'm going to be open to everything and question everything. But you can have a board of directors that you've never met. Dave Ramsey's on my board of directors. Robert Kiyosaki's on my board of directors, right? Now Morgan Housel's on my board of directors. Gary Keller's on my board of directors. Like, I have people that I listen to, talk to, whatever the case is, that are in my ear all the time. And great example. I'm about to buy a new car. And I think I told you about this. You encouraged me to do it, by the way. Thank you for that. And so I'm going to buy this new car. I promise you I'm not going to have a car payment on it. and it's an expensive car, right? It's one of those life dream bucket list cars.
Come on, do we get to ask?
No,
Okay.
because I don't want to jinx it.
You're ashamed.
I have to order it. But it might elicit, well, I can't say that. Anyway, so it's Porsche. So anyway, and it's paid for through profit share and investments and all those things. And it's something I set out to do 15 years ago. I mean, it's one of those big moments, big benchmarks, all those things. So I promise you there won't be a car payment on that, because I got Dave Ramsey in my ear telling me not to have any debt, right? So that's a board of director decision that I make based on the influences I allow into my brain.
Mark, I can't thank you enough for being willing to share. I love so many things about this company, and you are, you symbolize all the things that are good. And so thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we look forward to a day that we can see you again in person.
Well, you're very kind, and I can't wait to come see you all. I can't wait to be in person and hang out and high five and celebrate, getting through this. So thank you for having me. And I would love to come back if I can ever come back. I usually either get invited back or never get invited back.
I think you'll be invited back.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Mark. Take care.
Have a great day.
For those that don't know me, my name is Kara Moxley, and I'm operating partner. Growth. What a perfect evolution to last year's state of the market, which was transformation. Thank you to Shannon and Maria for today's program, and to our truly amazing panelists who've shown us the fruits of labor that can be produced when working with intention. We've seen the most beautiful growth, first germinated by thoughts, ideas, and a plan, then nurtured with discipline to flourish. Special thanks to Jay Papazan and Mark King, who not only inspire us, but empower us by showing us the path and tools to think bigger and plan accordingly. And not without considering who we must become to carry our dreams to fruition. This year, a very unique challenges has inspired much growth. And amid all, those with a competitive nature and a positive and determined mindset have not only chosen to survive, but thrive. So with a mix of necessity, invention, and implementation, the journey of discovery and retooling led to a reimagining of new skill sets in order to fulfill our goals. As Howard stats show, those efforts brought forth a lush harvest, and as it turns out, even more than enough for ourselves, enough to share back with others in insights and training and collaboration and generosity. We raised over $20,000 for KW Cares and delivered thousands of protective masks and notes of encouragement, which lifted the spirits of so many. We've pivoted, transformed, and have grown in the process. As Jay points out, growth is an inside job. It comes from within. And Gary Keller adds that in leading people, we must first start with ourselves. So in leading our Summit and Westfield Market Centers through this time, we did not go dark. We discovered many synergies and new ways to interact, as well as reimagined many tools and roles in order to support and enrich. With Shannon as executive team leader, we've been able to bring both offices into successful alignment, and now we're thrilled to welcome the Montclair office to our family of agents. Our three offices have much in common, all serving the same sophisticated New York clientele without much competitive overlap. Together, we are a powerful force with over 700 agents and $2 billion in sales. We see wonderful opportunities for networking and referring ahead. Our mission to be the real estate company of choice is no different, but the needs of agents and clients evolve. So we've stepped up our image with new websites, co-branded marketing reports, and the support of a professional services department. So if you desire assistance with transaction flow, marketing, or hiring, we've got your back. You see, as our agents' needs continue to evolve, we believe it's incumbent on us to be on a parallel path. At KW, we have a holistic outlook and believe that in tending to our ongoing development, both personal and professional, we grow as humans. So glad to be with you all today. And we are grateful to our sponsors at Guaranteed Rate, Acres Title, and Visual Marketing for their ongoing partnership. As we go onward this year, whether you're at KW or joined us as a guest today, let's aspire upward to lift ourselves, our colleagues, and the communities that we serve. For another great learning experience, please join us at the upcoming digital family reunion on February 15th. And thank you for joining us at the second annual State of the Market.